It took me a very long time to get my thoughts together on this book, and that was because I was worried that there's a possibility that I was looking through a cishet lens that basically greatly colored things in a way that they shouldn't have been colored, basically. Like, the color by numbers said black and I was seeing orange. Y'all, like, the universe does not want me to film this fucking video. I have started over like 17 fucking times. Not 17 actually, but probably literally at least 7 at this point. I'm getting really fucking frustrated, but I'm determined to fucking film it. Hi guys, my name is Horn and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm finally bringing you my thoughts on Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. Okay, so this is an arc that was sent to me by Riverhead Books. The arc is pretty cool because it comes in this awesome, like, it's not velvet or suede, what's the shit? Like felt cover that's pretty damn cool, and it's blurred by Neil Gaiman on the back. It is also being described as African Game of Thrones, so I was super excited about it, and it really wasn't what I was expecting. Despite the fact that it was sent to me by the publisher, of course, as I always do, I'm going to 1000% give you my honest thoughts. So let's just get into it. Black Leopard, Red Wolf starts off the very beginning of the book. Like, the first sentence, like, the child is dead. That is all you need to know. So I'm like, oh, okay. Because when you read the summary on the back, the book is basically about Tracker and this band of other characters who are searching for this boy. Now, nobody knows why they're searching for this boy. Tracker and them don't even know why they're searching for this damn boy. Essentially, like, the boy is not really important, like, but we'll get into that later. So the plot of the book is that they're searching for this boy. For whatever reason, they're looking for this boy. You open up the first chapter and it's like, the boy is dead. It's like, oh, okay. Because it's setting it up as like, almost like a Name of the Wind kind of a thing. Where you have this character who's sitting and talking to this other person and he's like, I'm going to tell you a story. I might, you know, it's a story. And stories are truth and lies. So you can decide, but I'm just going to tell you the story. You can listen and not listen. Like, I give no fucks. So I was really here for it. And then when they finally got into the story, it's like, wait a minute, pimp. What just happened? You done went to the left. We was going right. What happened? After they start the story, it's like a bunch of like little subsequent stories at first that don't really appear to make any sense. Now, this is kind of annoying to me because I am one of those people that does not like non-linear stories. If the story is going to be non-linear, I have to mesh so well with the writing style and the characters and the plot of the book that I really don't care if the structure is something I don't normally like. That didn't happen in this book. And it really frustrated me. When we finally it took probably a third of the book, if not more, before we even found out what this deal with this boy was initially. We get a little bit of Tracker's backstory. We find out this really shitty situation with him and his parents. We kind of like just roam the countryside with him for a little bit. He's discovering sexuality. He's discovering specifically his sexuality and what that means. He kind of got this found family together, but then all of that is dismissed kind of, and he turns into just like bad things happen to this found family, and he's just like, well, that sucks for y'all. I'm out. So I'm like, all right, so really I'm not set up to like this character, so where are we going with this? When is this boy coming in? Why are we looking for this boy? We not gonna tell me still? Okay, still waiting. So while I'm waiting for this boy to pop up, we're seeing Tracker again do all these little menial jobs looking for people. He's essentially like a fantastical private eye searching for cheating husbands and shit for money, but in this like fantastical African setting. But Tracker is really becoming this character that I don't fucking like, and he's becoming this character whose head I don't want to be in. On top of that, Marlon James' writing style. He does this thing with sentence structure, whereas he puts kind of like the subject towards the end. So you really don't necessarily know what in the fuck the characters are even doing for the longest time. It's these really meandering sentences and these meandering paragraphs in this meandering setting, and it's like watching somebody play Oblivion and they're playing like they're not even like, go to a quest, bitch, do something, and they're just like, no, I don't want to do a quest yet, and they're just like playing the map, just walking the fuck around like, bruh, do something, Jesus. No? Oh, okay, fuck it, I'll wait. I'm gonna play, hurry up and get off the controller and shit, let me play, you bullshitting. It's very much that kind of a feel. Not only that, but besides like the kind of like opposite, this passive sentence structure that he's using, he also has this kind of like passively misogynistic writing style. So before we even get to the actions that are actively, not passive, ain't shit passive about the actions in this book. We get to like the passive there's just passive like misogyny and sexism in the writing style, and that like just like in the narrative, like these are just described as like woman's clits and tits and a young woman's this and that, and it's like, why we gotta do all that? Like the wall just can't be bumpy, it gotta look like nipples and clits and shit. That's really kind of fucking extra. I didn't really care for that, but I'm like, okay, because he was setting up to be the Darkling, but for a purely adult book. He was setting up to be this like dickish character, and that's fine, but there was never anything that made me care about him as a character. And if you're gonna make me not care about the character, and then you're gonna set me up in this plot where the characters don't even give a fuck about the plot, it's like, why in the fuck am I reading this book? Do you know? Because I don't know. And it started to feel like a chore, and it felt like I was slogging through it. And I read it at the beginning of Blackathon, and it was just like, I know if I put this book down, I'm never going to pick it back up, so I need to finish this so I can get to my other books. But this book just fucked my brain. Mind fucked me, and it just like fucked up my spirit, and it didn't give me no warning. I thought I was reading Game of Thrones, like I was supposed to get like some gore and blood and murder, and maybe one person was sister fucking, but we don't like that character anyway, so it's fine. That ain't what you gave me. I got a whole bunch of Cersei and Jaime's just doing fucked up shit to other people, and it's like, I don't want to read this, and I don't want to be in the head of the person that's doing all the sister fucking. Like, can we? Ugh. Being really extra, but it was really hard to read. And so it was even like, it was like a couple hundred pages, if not more, before we got to the plot of the book. So at this time, like, I'm struggling with it. Give me something to care about. But then, like, again, like I said, the characters don't even care about this. And they're like, I don't care about this boy. It's like, Tracker, you don't even care about this boy. You just on a mission for something to do. He's like, yeah, basically. And then we don't find out even from the other characters why the boy is important. So it's like all of them are just basically bored and hunting for this boy, but not with any sense of urgency, any sense of duty, any sense of anything. They just fighting amongst each other, fucking each other, everybody getting raped and killed. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? What? Again, like I said a moment ago that this book was kind of like playing a large map in an RPG, and you finished a quest and haven't picked another one, so you really don't have a mission at the moment. You just kind of like backed out of the map and said, hey, you finished this mission, now I need you to do this, and you backed out of it and canceled, and you just wandered around the campsites and shit, just fucking with people for no reason because you're trying to figure out the map. So I said that, which makes everything sound very passive, right? And then I also said the book was like actively like misogynist, not just the language is passive, but the book was actively misogynist and sexist. And what I mean by that is that there was a lot of shitty things that happened to a lot of people, and the way it was in the book was very casual, and the way that it was in the book was with such a frequency that it just became very lackadaisical, and there was no reason for it. Just to slap the reader in the face with something shitty. It's just like, here's another person being assaulted. Here's another person being assaulted. Here's another person being assaulted. It's just like, why? No fucking reason. All the women in this book, they were horribly mistreated, or they were straight up dickbags. One or the other. The only female characters in this book who were not victims were awful people. Like, the women were constantly being mistreated in one way or another. So there was this language that's constantly describing, like, hey, you know, there's like grooves in the wall that looks like a young woman's vagina. Like, what the why? And then not only that, but then you have like these women are constantly being abused by their husbands, constantly being cheated on, constantly being, you know, raped and all this other shit. And it's just like, okay, I don't want to constantly read this. There's like mention of like giants raping animals, and there's also this character Leopard in here who Tracker, they make it look like is going to be a love interest for Tracker in the first like third of the book that we read, and for apparently no motherfucking reason. Leopard, he shifts, so he's a shifter. He just shifts from leopard to man. He's base form is a leopard, he can change to man. They're so focused on making this character like look leopard, appear leopard, act and talk and emote like a leopard, that when Tracker has sex with them or anybody has sex with them, it makes it look and feel like bestiality. So it's like, you keep putting all this fucked up shit in here. Why am I reading this book? I just cannot tell you how many times it's like, why am I reading this? Why am I reading this? What the actual fuck? So there are now shitty characters who I don't give a fuck about, and who don't give a fuck about the plot. I don't give a fuck about the plot. You're not even giving me the plot. The book's not plot driven. It's just kind of like, you know, there's this kid whose life's on the line. We need to find him, but we also don't care. We'll get to it when we get to it. That was what? Characters and plot, or lack thereof. Then there is the world building. So we have these characters who aren't like actively using magic, but we have Tracker who has this really crazy, ridiculous heightened sense, and then we have the Leopard who shifts from beast to man, but none can like use magic, make things happen. There's just like passive magic that they have, or that they are, or whatever the case is. But they're in this world. It's supposed to be this fantasy setting, and the setting is never really described. So it's back to like this passive sentence thing, or this passive descriptor thing that Marlon James does, where you really don't know what's going on. The setting also never really gets described. There's just like vague little things to where it's kind of like, you know, and this town was darker or dirtier, and that was it. We don't really get a sense of what the buildings are made out of unless there is a poor person's house, and it's like, well, that one's made out of cow shit and sticks. What the fuck? So I can't immerse myself into the world either. And it's like, you gotta give me something to work with, dude. Because right now, we have gone through plot, we have gone through characters, and now we're up to world building. I still don't have shit. I'm reading this book and still coming up empty. It's not feeding me. Like, at this point, I'm like, I'm so hungry for something that I'm ready to start chewing on the fucking pages. Also, such little is described that I really don't know. I can't tell you what the characters look like except this found family of his, and they're described because they stand out so much. But we don't know. I guess he assumes because they're in Africa, we're supposed to just kind of assume what all the characters look like. I don't know. Give me something to describe the characters, because right now I got nothing. Then there's this character later on that is described as who's like very light skinned, and it's unclear if he is albino black person, if he's a white person, if he's like South African, if he's French, he came from another country. It's not described very well, and so I would be like combing paragraphs and recombing the same paragraph over and over and over again, and going back to when we met the character, trying to get some kind of description to fit it. Alright. So then I'm like, well, Tracker is a, like, sensual, that's not a word, whatever. Tracker is a very scent-driven, like, scent-oriented person. So maybe he's not paying attention to this and he's identifying people by what they smell like. Except we don't ever get that either. So what I would have liked would have been, had we get to a new town, oh, this one smells more like fish and salt and air because it's closer to the ocean. The other one we were in smelled like livestock and blah, 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 blah. We get no scent descriptions either. So we get no, I can't immerse myself into the world in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And by now I'm just getting fucking irritated. The only times things are described, like I said, is when they stand out, but we don't know what the base world looks like. So you're not giving me anything to work with. At one point they're traveling through this world and it's kind of like the trees went sideways, and then like they were walking through the world and everything went, and then they were walking sideways on the trees and blah 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 blah, and then again that's it. The only time we get scents, back on the scent thing, because it's really bothering me, the only time we get scent descriptions is when somebody wants Tracker to find something. And guess what? Everything he smelled fucking guess what it all smelled like? It all smelled like assholes and dirty drawers. That was every fucking time. I wish I was making this up. I'm not making that up. Every time I needed to find somebody, they gave the man the drawers to smell, and it was like, smell like shit and sweat and cum and dirty balls and shit. And did I say it smelled like dirty asshole? Because that too. I'm like, I ain't tired of reading this shit. What the fuck is this? Fuck. This is largely like one of the reasons I said in the previous video that I have a hard time with male authors, because they start doing bullshit like this. You are not being any kind of creative. For all of this flowery writing you're doing, you're using flowery writing to write a book about not shit, or everything smell like dick and ass. Like, what? This was not meant to be a rant, but this book frustrated the shit out of me. So there's no world building. There's world building, but I can't tell you what it is. There's a plot that nobody cares about, characters I don't care about, and who don't care about the plot. And then on top of that, the only thing that sticks out clearly is all the negative shit, all the people that are getting assaulted. So another thing that strikes me, and this is probably one of the last things I'm touching because I can't remember much else. So I read an interview by the author, the same one that I referenced earlier, in which he said that he removed a lot of the misogynistic stuff and the homophobic sounding stuff from the book because he didn't intend for it to be misogynistic or homophobic sounding. Plus, he's a gay man, so I'm like, why is it? I don't know. So apparently he struggled with his sexuality, and I feel like that came through it came through a lot in the book. But for him to say that he took a lot of the homophobic stuff out, and then we have this relationship with Leopard when he's sleeping with this boy, and Tracker just keeps calling the boy little bitch boy, because the boy is effeminate. He just says, you probably can't even do that. He essentially says, you know, I mean, he ain't gonna buck up and fight me though, because he's a little bitch. Like, I'm gonna punch him, all he can do is slap like a little girl, because he's a little bitch. He's a little bitch, he's a little bitch. He just kept calling him little bitch boy. I'm like, that's not fucking necessary. And everything that he kept saying, he kept trying to emphasize the fact that because he wasn't circumcised, that he was still a woman, and thus as a woman he was fucking weak, and maybe if he got that shit cut off of his dick he would quit being such a little bitch. Talking about himself now, and I'm just like, I get sick of reading this shit. It's just very irritating. Another point that he made in the book was, now I lost my train of thought. Oh, the author also said that he wanted, I don't know if he wanted it to be a large theme, but it really didn't come off as much of a large theme, but he said they wanted it to be like gender fluidity / like no gender or / non-binary themes. Now, That struck me as being funny, but like, no, funny. Because there are so many parts in this book, and it's said so often, like, if you are not traditionally these things, you're a bitch, you're a female, you're XYZ and a third. If you are not circumcised, you are still a bitch, you are a woman, and thus as a woman, you are weak. You are supposed to cut that woman off of you is, I believe, the term that's used in there. Now, that strikes me as focusing pretty heavily on traditional gender identity, not throwing them by the wayside. The only characters in this book who are gender non-conforming were these hyena characters who were referred to as her and had penises. Okay, fine. But then they essentially gang raped the main character and cut out his eye. And I'm unsure as to whether or not they skull fucked him when they took his eye. What the fuck? Fail. Fail, fail, fail. Like, great representation there, sir. That's fabulous. Why do people do that? Why? And so the thing, that's when I just got really pissed off and I wanted to DNF the book. And then that's when I started to wonder whether or not I was looking at it through a cishet lens. Because the author identifies as homosexual. So why are all these things appearing homosexual to me and they're written by homosexual, not homosexual. Why are these things appearing homophobic to me and they're written by a homosexual author? Maybe I'm just not looking at them correctly. Like, I understand that a lot of homosexual people, hell, a lot of straight people, a lot of people, period. A lot of asexual people, a lot of ace people, a lot of aromantic people, like, struggle with their sexuality, lack of sexuality, lack of, like, all kind of things. Or not lack of things, like overabundance of things, whatever the case is. Or non-traditional, basically. That's a better way to say it. To struggle with their non-cishet or cis-romantic or cis-whatever. They struggle with that, their sexuality for any of 50 different reasons. Like, I understand that, and I understand that causes a lot of people to have sometimes dark views of sex and their bodies and sexuality in general. Okay, that's fine, but that still is not what this came off as. Like, even if he had like a dark view of it, it just almost felt like an attack. Like, the author was kind of attacking his homosexuality because of all the trouble that he says it caused them. Like, I believe at one point he was in like a pray the gay away kind of a situation with his church and his family. So yeah, people like that are going to have some baggage. Okay, I understand it, but it almost felt like an attack to try to like make up for those things that happened. So it's like, maybe I'm just looking at this wrong, but that's a feeling that it gave me. I don't know. I could be on the other end of the spectrum here. I could be on the end of the spectrum by myself, but it just, I didn't care for it. Last thing that I want to touch on is that this book is the first in a series, and in this series, the next two subsequent books are supposed to be the same story told from different characters' point of views. But why? You deliberately made me not give a shit about the plot, and now you want to retell me that plot from another point of view, other characters who you deliberately made me not like? Traditional things that make you attached to a character, descriptions of the character, like those characters, like dialogues, their struggles, their triumphs, their all of that stuff, like anything basically but apathy. But all we got was apathy, and not only that, but sometimes sexually violent apathy. How am I supposed to identify with these characters enough to want to read the same, like, non-plot story again? You already made me not care about the plot. You made it very clear that the plot was not important, but now you want to tell me the plot from another character's point of view when you've already made that character not important. I'm confused. I don't understand the intent there. I don't understand the draw. What is there, if I don't care about the plot or about the characters, what is there to make me want to pick up the next book? This book made me feel like shit. Emotionally, mentally, it was just almost like a melting pot of just bad shit. Not bad writing, but bad shit happening. And none of it had any meaning. And it got to the point where it's just like, oh hey, I haven't seen any rape in a couple of pages. I literally said that shit. Because it was so frequent for no reason. It's just like, why? It's just, no, I won't be reading the next one. This book is still messing with my spirit. It's still messing with my brain. I just don't like, somebody I really greatly and deeply trust is going to have to like read the second book and tell me, bitch, it's totally different before I would even think about picking it up. So, probably shouldn't have trashed it like that, but those are my honest thoughts. And I need a drink now. So, I'm going to talk to you guys later.